Yo, 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 it's your boy BobTheFat, and today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. So without further ado, let's get started. Now the first thing you want to do here is to clean up this entire mess. You do not want any of this, or this. You just want to get rid of it all, so that way you can start with a clean slate and just get to building. So I'm going to do that, and it should look much better when I'm done. Alright, that's done. Now you might be thinking that this place still doesn't look livable. And that's because... oh, whoops, wrong block. That's because we haven't done the next step, which is the floor. If you want your house to look like it's somewhere that should be lived in, then you really need to do a floor. That should be the second step besides cleaning up, because otherwise you're going to be putting couches and everything on top of grass. And I don't think anyone wants to live on a grass floor. And that is finished. It still looks a bit bare, but at least it looks livable. Like you can just put a couch here and it wouldn't look too out of place. But everything looks a bit bare. So now it's time for step 3, where we put in the walls. Now you don't have to do anything fancy with the walls, but just use them to divide the different parts of the house. Like for example, the garage, I don't think should be openly accessible to the rest of the house. You don't want to just be walking with food and then trip into a car. So we're going to put a wall over here, and maybe a door, but that we'll wait for that later. So without further ado, let's get started. And that is done. I left the space a bit open because for suburban houses and modern houses, their spaces are a bit more open, which means that you can just walk through without having to open many doors and stuff. Like right here, you could just walk into a kitchen. There's no walls separating it. Then from the kitchen, walk into a living room. That's what it means to be open, and that's the kind of setup that these modern and suburban houses have. But if you're making a rustic house, then there's usually a bit more doors and walls to separate the rooms. I don't know why, that's just how they are. But anyways, I put some pillars here to make it seem like this is being held up by something. However, they still look a bit plain, but we'll get to that later. Because the fourth step is the staircase, and by extension the second floor. You're not going to do any decorations on the second floor, you're just going to set up the second floor. Alright, the stairs are finished, but they're a bit of an eyesore. So a quick tip is that sometimes adding new stuff, I don't want to say ruins, but it makes you want to change other things that you've done. For example, here I'm going to add a wall, so that way you don't have to look at how ugly the stairs are. Although, maybe I can find a better way to do it than to just make a long hall. Stairs are much easier to look at. Also, we have this little place here for decoration, but that comes later. Now the next step is something that every single house should have, and that's lighting. Because so far I've kept it day for the whole video, but if we were to turn this night, you can see it's pretty dark. So we're going to have to add some lights so that way it still looks nice even at night. And there's multiple ways to do it, which I'm going to show you right now. One way to do it is to have overhead lights like this, but they're a little too big for my liking. So I'm going to go with standard ground lights. And there's a really good way to do it without you even knowing that there's a light there. The way you accomplish this trick is by putting your light source in the ground, like so. You might want to make it take up a good portion of the room, so that way it lights up most of it. And then you take a rug, I chose red because it goes well with the colors, and cover it up. And now, it just looks like a rug, but there's a ton of light emanating from it. It does look a little out of place because there's no other furniture, but there will be soon, so you'll just have to wait. Another form of light you can make is a lamp. Uh-oh. Oh, well, we'll add that back in later. And then you take your dragon egg, put it under, and you take your banners and put it over. And now, it looks like a decorated lamp. And there we go. We have lights, that way we can see what we're doing, even at night. But, let's make that useless and turn it day. And now it's time for step 5. Now that you can see, now that you have your walls all planned out, it's time to work on your rooms. Or, maybe not rooms, but parts of the house. For example, you should plan out where you want your living room, your kitchen, and whatever other rooms you plan on having in your house. For example, a garage. So, I'm going to get started, and then I'll meet you when I'm done. I finished the living room. All I had to do was add a couch and a TV, because the lamp was already there. And a quick tip is that you can use a painting as a television. Now, if your house is bigger and you have enough space, you can use sea lanterns behind it to make it look like it's being lit up. Unfortunately, I don't have that space, so we're going to deal with an unlit TV. And over here is where I've planned out for the kitchen to be. Another tip is that before you do a big room like a kitchen, plan out how big you want it to be, where you want stuff to be. For example, here, it's the entrance. Treat it somewhat like the house, like when you're building the house itself, which I have the little iCard up there to the video if you want help with that. But for your interiors, you also have to think about it as if you're building the house. Try and map out where you want the entrances to your rooms to be and how big you want them to be. For example, here, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blocks by around 8 blocks. And that should be enough to add in all the stuff that I need. So, let's finish off the bottom floor with the kitchen. And the kitchen is done. We have our little, I forgot what they're called, cupboards, or whatever you want to call them, little drawers. And that's basically it. A quick tip is that you can use item frames and pressure plates. Just put the pressure plate in the item frame and then twist it around a bit, like this, until you get it to the side that you want, and then it can look like a cabinet or a drawer. Now, you know how I said that we would finish off the first floor with the kitchen? Well, I kind of lied because I forgot all about the garage. So, I'll finish that up, and then I'll get back to you guys. And the garage is done. Now, hopefully, if I didn't forget, the other video I made is up on screen. And in it, I said that you should use your house or some other building that you know as inspiration for your build. For example, my house has a garage which is filled with stuff that we don't use in boxes. So that's what I did in here. It works the same way for interior. Another thing I can tell you is that beehives work really well as drawers. And something I just found out right now is that sea lanterns can penetrate through blocks. By which I mean that if you cover them up, the light still seeps through. And that's it if you have a one-story house. But I do still have one more tip for you. Don't be afraid to change the outside of your house. Here, I changed it. This used to be stairs, but I changed it to slabs. So that way on the inside, it would look much nicer and cleaner. And that's basically it for your one-story house. However, just like on the outside, if you have a two-story house, there's still work to be done. There's not much new I can say for the second story, except basically just repeat all the steps I told you for the first one. Except this time, maybe add in a little bit more walls, and think about bedrooms and bigger rooms, because upstairs is where the more important parts are. For example, like I said, bedrooms and other stuff like that, more personal items, more personal rooms. And they're also slightly more cramped than downstairs. Down here you can walk through anywhere without having to open a door. But over here, since the rooms are much more private, you should put more walls so that way it feels more, not, I don't want to say stuffed, but it's a bit more tight on the upstairs. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope your interior came out really well. And I'll see you in the next one. But until then, it's Bob the Fat out.